You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Alright, sorry about this. We're trying to get the Tropical Weather Bulletin underway here. I've got the button ready and it's just about to be pressed. This has been extremely heavily rushed. Just 1 second. Here is the Tropical Weather Bulletin. Hurricane Erin, a rapidly intensifying Category 4 north of the Lesser Antilles on today's live Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for August 16th. So obviously the story right now is Major Hurricane Erin, which is rapidly intensifying. I tend to pre-record the beginnings of the Tropical Weather Bulletins even when they're live like this, and this is no different. That means that the storm may already be stronger than what we're putting out at the beginning of this stream today. We'll obviously catch you up to date in just a second. But as of right now, as far as we know, Erin is a mid-range Category 4 with winds near 140 miles per hour and a pressure in the lower 940s, possibly even lower than that by now. It is rapidly intensifying and deepening, small, tight core, and the eye has really opened out. In the Eastern Pacific, there's no areas of interest right now, which allows me to tell you about the other area of interest that you may have seen in the Atlantic there. We have a 40% in the upper reaches southeast of Atlantic Canada, and we also have now a 10% chance for next week in the Eastern Atlantic that we're going to be watching out for. In the Western Pacific, we've got 3 areas of interest active right now, 2 of them with moderate chances of development. One of them is already active there. You can see it in the South China Sea. And a third system now popping up, which could go on to affect the Mariana Islands next week. In the North Indian Ocean, it's looking relatively quiet, although you can see a few storms blowing up across India, monsoonal in nature, not too much to talk about here in terms of actual tropical activity. And in the Southern Hemisphere, for what it's worth at this juncture, very little actually. There's not much going on. It's the off-season in the Southwest Indian Ocean, but you'll note that we've already had 2 storms form so far in the 2025-26 calendar season, which started on July 1st. So really surprising. And in the Australian region, no systems active there at this point either. It's looking like a pretty quiet basin. Well, everyone's here to talk about Hurricane Erin, of course, right now, so let's get to the latest information. Again, I'm not sure what number is going to appear here because the information is changing so rapidly, but it is a mid-range Category 4 storm right now, near 19.5 degrees north, 62.3 degrees west, as of 8 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time, August 16th. We'll get the latest from the National Hurricane Center in just a second, but right now it's 159 kilometers from Anguilla, 229 from Anegada, 419 from San Juan, 653 from Punta Cana, and 947 from Coburn Town on the Turks and Caicos Islands. So that's the latest on Erin, and let's take a look at some of our other graphics right now then, and it is 145 miles per hour and a pressure of 935 millibars at the advisory from the National Hurricane Center at 8 a.m. So it's getting even stronger at this point, and that trend looks set to continue over the course of today as it crawls over warmer and warmer sea surface temperatures. We'll have live recon data here as well as we progress through this hour. And it has been consistently finding a rapidly deepening storm. The latest drop sonde, which was around half an hour ago, which corroborated the 935 millibar reading. So an exceptional strengthening phase that has been going on here in the last just a few hours, but in the greater context of things over the course of the overnight period into the morning. Let's bring up some more satellite imagery in just a second here. It's taken us a little while to get everything sorted. set up. So bear with us just for a second, but here's some more imagery now, and beautiful imagery here from Ram Slider, geocolor imagery. Really, when we look at the storm's eye and we look at some of the satellite images, you can really, it looks like the storm is huge, but when we look at it from a more wider perspective here, you can see just how small Hurricane Erin actually is. That's one of the reasons why it's been able to intensify so quickly, though, as well. So at this point, it's going to continue intensifying pretty much until we start seeing an Eyewall replacement cycle, which some people have been suggesting might be coming up soon. Well, no real signs of that just yet. I think we've got some static in the background as well coming from Maury, but you're with us right now, and what can you tell us about the latest from Recon, if anything?
So, with Recon, they are finding still some very strong winds and a very low pressure. The latest data has found extrapolated surface of 934.8 millibars. They are currently heading northwest out of the storm at the moment, but they're likely going to do another pass. There was a very brief moment of stronger winds with the storm when they passed through, specifically on like in the inner Eyewall. There was one moment where we saw 128 knot flight level winds. This is not the same recon mission that I think had that other wind surface observations. I think there was one that had like stronger winds, or
Yep, there was a plane earlier that got 140 knot flight level winds.
yeah, so that I believe it's this flight. This.
Oh, you're showing us. Just a second. Let's get to your screen right now. In the meantime, there's this beautiful image of the storm here too. But let's cross over to Maury if it's working here at this end. Yes. So here's another perspective here, and two planes still in there actively right now.
Yeah, it's still two planes. We currently have these two at the bottom here. And it seems like I can't find that 140 knot reading. I believe that's with. Wait. Okay, so it must be with NOAA 2. Okay, wait.
Yeah, the 140 knot was from NOAA 2 earlier. That plane is now. They've just gone through the eye again, I think. NOAA 2.
Yeah, it looks like
one.
it.
Yeah, it's that one there that you're looking at right now. That's
yeah, I just couldn't find the readings. But currently they are passing through. They currently have 105 knot level flight level winds. They are currently not fully in the Eyewall yet, though. We're probably going to get that data soon. They are making another pass, but it's not going to be the northeastern pass, which probably would indicate the highest winds. But we are going to see an accurate pressure drop, and we'll see what the storm has to offer with its rapid intensification this pass around.
The northwestern side hasn't been sampled for over an hour, so it'll be interesting to see when they do get another pass there.
Yeah, they are on their way to do a northwestern pass. Even though, for looking at it, it looks like it's going to be a little bit more on the western side. But there is a band right there, so that might help with finding more of the winds on the northwestern side.
Well, your imagery there is also illustrating just the motion of this storm as well, and it is still just a slight bit south of west there.
Yeah, I did notice that, and I think it was expected to move a little bit further northwards by this point, especially if you look at the current trajectory of the NHC track. You can see this is supposed to move more, pretty much to the northwest, but currently it is moving due west, if not slightly south of west, and at this point it does look like it will curve eventually, but I think that there will be some impacts to the Turks and Caicos Islands if it keeps going on this trajectory.
Well, you can see it more, I think, on the National Hurricane Center's official cone. You can see this, and it shows when they do intermediate advisories like they have done here at 8 a.m., they're not full advisory packages that they do every 6 hours. So the 11 a.m. advisory will be the full package where they update the cone. What they do at the intermediate advisories is they use the last cone and then they plot the position, and then they just draw a line from its current position to that first forecast point that they had at the last advisory. And so sometimes it can look a little bit strange, just that first little bit between the storm's location and the M. It doesn't really follow the same trajectory as the rest of the cone. And that is because the storm has clearly moved further south from where they were expecting. I think right now they probably would have expected it to be at around 20 degrees north. It's still at 19.6 according to their cone. But regarding land impacts, it is still, some people might be surprised that it's only a tropical storm watch for only 2 islands now, I think, St. Martin and St. Bart's. Those are the only places that have got any kind of warnings out. And people think, wow, isn't that close for comfort? But the southern side of the southern wind field, it's still tiny, and that's been confirmed by the recon planes as well. If we take a look back at some recent passes, here for instance, this is NOAA 2's viewpoint, you'll notice there that anything less than those dark greens, so into the blues, anything that are the blues there, aren't tropical storm force winds at flight level, so possibly even less on the ground. And you can see if you go far south enough on that image, some of those islands, Bermuda, due south, St. Martin towards the bottom left there, they won't be getting anywhere near storm force winds right now, which again might surprise some people. You can see right there as well, they've got the METAR data too, showing that they're only getting 5 to 10 knot winds at the airports down there right now. So that is why there are no warnings, well, only a watch for 2 of those islands and no warnings elsewhere, and that they've been discontinued for places like Bermuda and whoever else had it earlier. I was actually quite surprised that... Can we just double check that Anguilla doesn't have a watch anymore? Because if that's true, that's actually the closest point to the storm.
But
just
making sure.
I'm pretty sure the only warnings are St. Martin and St. Bart's. That is it. So not even for Anguilla anymore. So the news right now is that Erin is rapidly intensifying. Let's go back to some of the visible images. Usually I'm able to animate this. Unfortunately, the animator is broken. I can do it manually by literally dragging the slider, so I'll do that just for a second. And this is how the visibles have started to appear here. I mean, you can't see that much anyway from earlier on, but looking at the latest image, really very, very impressive looking storm.
So we did just get an extrapolated surface pressure of 931.9 millibars on the NOAA 2 flight mission, and 133 knot flight level winds.
Deeper and deeper and stronger at every pass. Really, really impressive storm here. And, well, I'm sure people will be asking, well, can it get even stronger? Can it reach Category 5 status? I really think the sky is the limit at the moment. Sea surface temperatures are only warming at this point. They're not cooling or anything like that. So the prime time for this storm and the best conditions for it are probably still slightly ahead of where we're currently at. Let me see if I can just fetch some of that data that you've been talking about there. So we've got the raw charts. Yeah, so that latest NOAA 2 pass, if you look towards the top left one there, they've gotten even stronger flight level winds there as well, haven't they? That's over 140 knots flight level and nearly 140 knots on the other side. So that's west-northwest, about 140 to 145 knot flight level winds, and east-southeast, I assume, it's nearly 140 knot flight level winds as well. Look at the steepness of the gradient as the plane entered the eye of the storm. And this is what's really impressive about this. It's small scale. The eye can't be more than just a few miles wide. So it's a very, very impressive intensification phase that doesn't seem to be stopping at the minute. And that extrapolated 931, I believe. Low 930s at any rate in that latest pass. We'll wait for drop-son data on that latest pass as well. That will be very interesting to see, but we've not received anything so far. AF308 is also skirting the western side of the storm right now. They might go in next for a southwest to northeast pass, so keep your eyes peeled for that one, definitely. Let's see if we can get some comments and questions at this point. You can send them in. Start your message with Force 13, all in text. Do we think the icon runs could verify? Well, I think the icon is a little bit crazy, even at this point, but, well, you never know. The crazy part I find with the icon being what happens later on with it. Is my microphone low, by the way? Someone mentioned that.
It doesn't sound low.
I'm pretty sure it is what it is normally, but I may be wrong because I caught the settings a little bit earlier, and I don't know if the setting is right, but the levels look okay to me. But the icon, people who haven't seen the icon might be in for a surprise, but the icon just seemed to be too strong for too long. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Any chance of high-end Cat 4 for this hurricane? Well, it pretty much is. It will be very soon. Okay, let's see what else we've got right now. Well, a lot of people talking about Category 5 possible. Yep, I would absolutely say that. And maybe a little bit more besides. I don't... when I work on TCOS, which is the feature that we work our operations on, we have to put in a little estimate on what the storm's intensity is likely to be, and the top score is for 175 miles per hour. We haven't triggered that yet, but maybe soon. We're not currently expecting that, but the way this thing is going right now, this is really getting very powerful indeed as we keep looking at these images. Again, really beautiful imagery, and at least at the moment it is something that we can very much look at in that sort of way, in that, you know, this is beautiful to look at and it isn't really affecting anyone at the moment. So that's the quote-unquote good part about it right now. This is the red visible imagery, which is the highest quality usually, really showing off the eye structure there. Very, very picturesque storm. And if we... well, those land masses are completely wrong. It is not... those land masses, I don't know why it's like that. The storm is actually way out towards the west-northwest of where those land masses say it is. I do not understand what's happened there at all. But the storm is definitely not there. It is actually, if we're going to compare it to land areas, if we zoom out a bit, there. That is where the storm actually is. I've no idea why RAM Slider was displaying it like that. Just going to grab some more images right now as well. Declan is also with us as well. Your thoughts on this storm right now?
Yeah, well, I just I went to bed at 80 miles an hour, 85 miles an hour last night. I woke up to it being 120 miles an hour. And I thought it wasn't going to get to a Cat 3 until later on today. But like it it just like shocked me how it just went through some explosive intensification during the night, and now it could be on a cusp of 155, maybe 160, if the Eyewall replay cycle doesn't happen. But like, I don't see. I do think it will happen, but I don't technically see one yet until like later on tonight, early tomorrow morning. So,
Well, they're difficult to predict, so especially and they can happen at a moment's notice with these small storms in particular. But I'm not seeing any clear signs of an Eyewall replacement cycle yet.
yeah, neither am I.
We can. I mean, well, yeah. You look back at the aircraft data, and it is pretty clear cut when you look at this. When there's a chance of an Eyewall replacement cycle, you will start to see multiple peaks on those flight level winds on either side of the eye. Now, there's two peaks there. That's the western Eyewall and the eastern Eyewall in that top left panel near the most recent time. And the previous one to that was the last time the plane flew through the eye. And showing two very, very distinct peaks that there's no chance that it's an Eyewall replacement cycle anytime soon. But what this also shows, though, is just how steep those peaks are. Tells you, one, that this storm is obviously very strong, but two, just how quickly those winds die off away from the center of the storm. Could you imagine going back to before satellite imagery, a storm like this probably would have been called a tropical storm due to lack of data. It really would. It's amazing to think that maybe storms like this might have gone, well, would have gone missed, obviously, if you go far back enough. But you've got to have the planes there, and obviously the satellites to see the satellite structure as well, which is obviously backing what we're looking at on Recon. We haven't taken a look at many of those. There's another beautiful view. But let's just bring up the Force 13 website imagery, which you can look at live as well on the Force 13 website. Let's take a look at the Zaire imagery. Yes, very impressive.
The structure has just got a lot better over the past 12 hours.
I would say that appearance there, you know, is correct with the... It is in line with the actual observations that Recon are getting. That clearly is a mid to high end category 4. When we look at that imagery, big red ring, oh my god, of minus 70 degree cloud tops, and a warming eye. We've not gotten information on the eye temperature yet, but let's just see if I can get some info on that. That might take a second or two, which is obviously something that we look for as well. But I'm trying to get something work. Yeah, go ahead.
It also looks like there is a cloud burst that is currently happening on the southeastern side that may cause some negative 80 or close to negative 80 degree cloud tops.
In the Eyewall?
Like the outer edge of the Eyewall.
Oh. Not seeing it on that imagery. Let's take a look at yours.
It's on there. Here, wait, let me change my screen.
Oh.
Is this... I've been hearing a lot of this, but apparently some people have been saying, like, this is the strongest storm for this time of year, this part of the world. I've heard a lot of people say it, and like...
It's quite strong. Oh, I see what you mean. Is that little bit down the southeastern side? Yeah. I'm just right now trying to get some maybe a read on the eye temperature. Of course, Recon will be in there as well, obviously getting eye temperature data too. In fact, I guess we should check if there's any new son data. I don't think we're in receipt of any, unfortunately. So if you've just joined us, Hurricane Erin is an extraordinary Category 4 hurricane at this point. We're running an hour-long live stream here on our Tropical Weather Bulletin. At the end of it, we'll be redirecting you to our automated stream, which is running side by side with this, where we've got live imagery and everything to do with this storm right now. The good news is that it is pretty much not affecting any land. There is a tropical storm watch in effect for St. Martin and St. Barthélemy. But the storm's wind field currently does not extend outward that far, despite its remarkable strength. Although it is moving a little bit further south than expected right now, and if it does continue in that vein for much longer, it may start to cause issues for places like the Turks and Caicos Islands and maybe some of the Bahamas. If that trend also continues, it will be riding along the western edge of that cone, which could certainly put the Outer Banks of North Carolina on notice, and possibly the Cape Cod region as we get into the midpoint of next week. SRB13 says, do we think Bermuda will experience hurricane force winds? Well, with this westward motion at the moment, I would suggest probably not. However, it is a pretty close call at this time, so I wouldn't say anything with too much confidence. Don't forget, the storm can still go anywhere within that cone. And we're very interested to hear any new info when we get more recon updates, but they're not in the storm. Well, we're not having any more eye passes at the minute, but the last that we saw here is that we've probably got an extrapolated pressure in low 930s at this point. The last update was 935 millibars from the National Hurricane Center at their update at the start of this hour. So really extraordinary storm, but there are also a few other areas of interest that are starting to pop up as well, which is interesting, and we'll show you some of those on our models in a few moments when we take a look at the GFS and everything that it's got to offer, which I'm told is quite a bit for potential activity in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, let's go back to Maury, if I may, and you're looking at a few more images on the Force 13 website. There's some visible, and there's really not too much more this storm can do to improve, apart from flesh out those cloud tops a little bit further and get a warmer eye, which I believe it is already doing, even though I don't have a direct number for everyone right now. It seems as though the Eyewall, the eye temperature is getting much better.
What's the sea surface temperature? It's about 29-30 degrees right now.
If it isn't yet, it will be soon. Okay, I do have a number now. We have a 19 degree Celsius eye. So on satellite appearance alone, which is obviously not important when we've got recon data, which is direct evidence, but if we were just using satellites, this would be a borderline category 5, if not an outright category 5. What that actually means in terms of this storm is that if it keeps looking like this for a bit longer, more than likely the winds will catch up to its appearance, and this will probably become a category 5 storm, basically. With the pressure continuing to drop, unless we see a halt very shortly, I think this will become a category 5 storm.
I think so too.
I agree.
So that's basically where we're at right now, but it isn't yet. The information from Recon Planes is that it currently has winds near 145 miles per hour. They did get category 5 flight level winds earlier, around 160 miles per hour. The pressure estimate was 935 at the top of the hour. There was since another pass, which caught around 932, 931 maybe. We're just waiting to see if we can get a drop sonde, well, data from the drop sonde on that last pass, but not forthcoming at the minute, and I'm not sure we're going to get one or get the data that we're looking for, but if things have really changed, then the National Hurricane Center will do another update statement, much as they did earlier on when they first called Category 4 status, when it first reached 130 miles per hour earlier this morning. So just a reminder, a tropical storm watch for St. Martin and St. Bart's, both sides of St. Martin, of course. The primary hazards being rainfall. Right now, the outer bands of Erin are expected to produce areas. In fact, do we have that rainfall chart? This might not be up to date anymore, but I doubt it's changed very much. Expected to produce areas of heavy rainfall through Sunday across the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Rainfall totals of 2 to 4 inches, with isolated totals of 6 are expected. Locally considerable flash and urban flooding, along with landslides or mudslides, are possible. Tropical storm conditions possible within the watch area later today. Swells generated by Erin will affect portions of the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and the Turks and Caicos Islands through the weekend. These swells will spread to the Bahamas, Bermuda, and the east coast of the United States early next week. These rough ocean conditions will likely cause life-threatening surf and rip currents. Please consult products from your local weather forecast office for more information. Well, speaking of which, let's go and briefly check in, because I heard earlier, I don't know if it was true, whether there were warnings out in Puerto Rico at this point. Well, let's take a look. This is the page for San Juan on the National Weather Service's website. So they've got a high surf advisory for pretty much all the northward facing coastline there. Rip current statement along that west coast there as well. And a flood watch for pretty much the whole island by the looks of things there, Puerto Rico. So that is where we're up to in terms of conditions there. And obviously you can see the Virgin Islands as well. Let's just check if there's any other warnings there. So they've got a high surf advisory, rip current statement, and they've also got a flood watch as well. I assume that extends to the Virgin Islands as well, yes. So flood watch for that entire area right now. Which is, you know, there's no immediate danger of flash flooding or anything like that right now, but this storm really looking very impressive. There's an even, in my opinion, an even better looking image that I've got on my other monitor right now, which I'm going to try and get onto my main one to show everyone here. But whilst we wait for that, any other comments or updates from the team right now?
I mean, it seems like a very powerful storm at the moment. There is some rainfall currently happening on the British Virgin Islands, so I do get that there is a flood watch for that region. Even the U.S. Virgin Islands, it seems like there is a common rain band in that area. That is likely producing a lot of rain. It has some pretty high cloud tops on it, so probably some heavy rainfall currently ongoing. However, it doesn't seem like it'll be any other band. It seems like that's the only band that will impact the islands if it continues on its current trajectory. So it doesn't seem like that any of the inner bands will impact the islands and cause even more rainfall and heavy winds.
So there's the storm overlaid, and you can see where it is in relation to everywhere else just about. Well, there's the base map, and there's the current location of the storm. If we were to draw lines from the storm to local areas, Anguilla there, somewhere around 170 kilometers, which is around 105 miles. Anegada, which is the northernmost part of the British Virgin Islands, around 236 kilometers, which is just shy of 150 miles. The US Virgin Islands around 310 kilometers, which is nearly 200 miles, and San Juan, which is around 420 kilometers away from the center of the storm, and that I think would be somewhere around 250 miles if I'm not mistaken. Doing quick conversions right there, but inside the storm, let's see if we can probe it again here to get a temperature read. 19 degrees at the last frame, now 18.8, which is still pretty much the same. So Really very impressive. But again, if we zoom right out, just to give you an idea of how small the storm actually is in the grand scheme of things, it is small by hurricane standards, but it will definitely get much bigger soon. And by the time it gets on the same latitude as Bermuda, it could be maybe double its size that it currently is right now. What's really saved the islands at this point is that the storm, obviously, most crucially, has passed further north than what would cause issues. It was always expected to pass north of the islands, but we still weren't sure. But its small size obviously kept those winds far enough away from land. I mean, still at this point, those winds, I think, how far out they extend, I'm just trying to get, I'll have to go from the earlier data. According to the earlier data, the winds only spread out 50 miles, and the hurricane force winds only spread out about 10 miles. That was as of earlier on when it was a Category 3. It will have increased a little bit more in that time, but not massively. But once it gets an Eyewall replacement cycle, well, that's when the storm is really going to grow in size. Just been checking on some more imagery there as well. Okay, let's see if we can get a couple of questions before we go on to take a look at all of the GFS models predictions for the next 2 weeks around the world. Let's take a look. Well, there's some interesting questions there, which are a little bit extraordinary. When do we think the next strong storm of the Atlantic will be? That could be next week. If the GFS has its way, and other models might get on board soon, I think something might happen when we get later on in the season. Whether it's going to be immediately, I'm not sure. And radar for Erin as well. I can get to the radar after we've looked at the models, but in the meantime, I can't get to that just yet. I don't know if Maury wants to show us any radar if you've got that. Well, right now, oh, you do. Well, a little bit out of Puerto Rico there. Yep, you can see a little bit from the outer bands there. I'm sure there was another radar source that had it from maybe St. Martin.
Oh, I think I have that. Here, wait. Let me get on this other app.
I'll see if I can grab it as well. Or
I have
maybe even it might even be on the Force 13 website.
I have one from Guadalupe, but I don't think that's going to be that helpful.
No, it won't be. But I'm sure I saw some radar that got closer to the storm earlier. In the meantime.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the radar on the Force 13 website.
Ah, I was just gonna get to that. So there's a viewpoint. So you can clearly see the chunky southern side there, throwing out a lot of rainfall over the area, reaching the islands a little bit at times. Nothing too crazy, but at times there could be some pretty heavy showers there, and it's all just about to reach the Virgin Islands right now. A little bits and pieces as well for Puerto Rico this morning. That's going to get more solid later on today. Okay then, well, let's take a look at what the wonderful GFS model has in store for us over the next 384 hours, which is 16 days. So obviously it starts off Erin much weaker than what it actually is. No surprise there. It starts Erin with 85 mph winds, which is what it was at the end of last night. Well, where does it go from here? Well, it's obviously already a major hurricane, but the GFS reckons that will happen by tomorrow, but we know it's already happened. It could easily be a Category 5 at this point, and any of these points here, it could be a Category 5 all the way up to maybe here. and then it should start weakening a lot more. Let me just see if I can find Bermuda. If you can't see Bermuda on the map there, I don't blame you. Bermuda is there. So later on in this run, hurricane force winds miss, but they still get a good period. Like, that is over a day. 30 hours of tropical storm force winds there as this storm gets much larger over that time period. Off it goes. On this particular run, no threat to the United States. No storm force winds there, not even getting into the blues, which is like 30 miles per hour. Or Canada. Ooh, just about squeaking past there with those storm force winds. Just about. So that's interesting, like, the storm's moving further west than expected, and yet now it's the GFS still wants it to go further east in the longer range. But of course, well, let's just overlay the National Hurricane Center cone on top of this, though. And that wasn't a very good noise. That's the National Hurricane Center cone. So don't forget, at this point here, day 5, you could potentially transpose the hurricane force wind field and the center. It could potentially be here if it follows the left-hand side of the cone, at which point the hurricane force winds will be here, and those storm force winds will extend out almost as far as Florida. Or it could still be further east here, in which, well, I drew that very large, in which that would be a problem for Bermuda, by the way, if it followed the eastern side of the cone. And if it followed the western side of the cone, it would make things more uncomfortable for the US East Coast. Florida, not so much, even with that, but probably more for the outer banks, which those hurricane force winds could get close to. And who knows after that, you know, it could get up towards New England as well. As it stands right now, though, that GFS forecast run, the storm does not impact the United States or pretty much Atlantic Canada. Very interesting. Off it goes. Very large extratropical storm, and it looks like the model has failed beyond the 23rd. So I don't know why this appears to be a problem all the time now. It didn't used to be. Behind that, you can see glimpses of maybe 2 other systems here. One of them we've already marked as a 10%. That's this one. And eventually, who knows what happens to those. We'll tell you in a little bit when we look at some other model viewers. Nothing in the Eastern Pacific in that 7-day period. Nothing in the Central Pacific. And then the Westpac. So we've got this active system now. 40% here. Moving on into China. Very large monsoonal system. Really huge at the minute. Rainmaker, most likely. And then you've got this second system, which will eventually move up and form here, and then off it will go through Okinawa into the East China Sea. This time calling for a typhoon out of that. Cooperate with me, please. Yes, typhoon out of that there, moving northwestwards, again into the east coast of China, like it was saying in last night's update. And then we've got this third system now, which has been given a 30% chance, becoming a typhoon by the end of the next 7-day period as well. Could also affect Guam on its way in there. And apart from that, nothing else active in the next 7 days. So we'll throw it back to Erin there. This, once again, the latest imagery of the storm. It's frustrating that those models don't... that model run has stopped working beyond a certain point. That's happened twice now. But let's see if I can just show you the full run through other sites, and obviously we can. So you will see obviously Erin there again. Get the pressure on that too. Let me look at that. We're low 930s right now. They were forecasting 936 peak GFS at the last run, and that wasn't until the 20th. 0Z on the 20th. So there still could be potentially 3.5 days of strengthening. Wow. And then a second peak at 938 as the next tropical system. Then we've got these 2 systems behind it. This is just the GFS model. That's another hurricane there moving into the Gulf. Oh my goodness, that gets really strong as well. 934 millibars approaching Texas landfall. Hello. Off it goes inland. That's very long range. It's the first time we've seen something like that for that system. But if we compare it to other models like the Euro at the same time period and beyond, well, that same system that just hit Texas, the European model, wants that to recurve early and then go and hit Nova Scotia, actually. So that's how much uncertainty there's going to be for that one. We've not even got past Erin yet, of course. CMC, nothing. Nothing at all from that system, which is surprising given the CMC's reputation. Then, of course, you've got the Icon model, which everyone loves because it's forecasting Erin to be the strongest of any of the models. Currently going for 909 millibars. Tell you what, though, it is not too far-fetched at this point. Behind that, it's unclear what happens because the model only goes up to 5 days. Let's just check in on those Hurricane models as well. Do we still have the HWRF? Yes. So, does it have a decent handle on it? 930 millibars there. And even the HWRF is well behind in how strong this storm is at this point in time. The initialization there is 966 and 87 knots. Nowhere near what it is right now. So that's also behind. HMON. It doesn't hit any land, by the way. HMON in the 960s as well on the initial initialization. 105 mile an hour winds. Nowhere near what it actually is. Peaks in the lower 930s. It's already there right now. It's trash. The model has to be thrown out. I think all of the models are going to have to be thrown out. The HAFS-A, currently 968 millibars and 105 mile per hour winds. Again, way off the pace. Calling for a 930 millibar peak. Borderline category 5 as well. You know, if you transpose these models onto the storm's current intensity, I think pretty much all of them will go for a category 5 peak here. And then some. And then some on top. HAFS-B, 927. And again, that's a borderline category 5. None of these hit land, by the way. But I can't see Bermuda in all of this. It's very hard to see that island. But so you know, pretty much in hand what is going on here with Erin. The forecast is relatively clear. Let's see if we have any more recon data then at this point. AF308 is about to make a pass in from the southwest, but they haven't really started yet. NOAA 2 are on the eastern side right now. Still don't have any info about those drop zones that they may or may not have done at their last pass. So there's really no new information to relay about Erin at this point. There's no direct evidence making it any stronger than what it was, although if it kept going in the same way it has been, this could be a borderline category 5 already. Massive ring of red there, minus 70 degree cloud tops. Let's see if we can take some questions at this point. When will Erin run into shear or dry air? Well, it had the shear in the earlier part of its life. At this point, I don't know where the shear is. It appears to have gone. Probably not too far away from the storm, but it's nowhere near affecting it, that's for sure. Dry air is a decent question, however, because when we look back at a particular imagery that I want to show here, is it this one? Yes. You'll see on the northern side of the storm, there's still a lot of Saharan dust that the storm has dragged with it out off to its north, which is why the northern side may be looking comparatively bare to the southern side. No massive bands up there. Southern side is throwing a decent band towards those islands. But when you look at the wider picture, the amount of dry air it's been chugging along with it in its wake is quite extraordinary. The whole of the central Atlantic there is covered in dust now. And that may have implications for that potential next system, hopefully. Because if it doesn't, then we could be looking at a significant impact for more populated areas in about a week and a half. Don't know why the imagery didn't fully load, but there we are. Let's go back to this imagery again. Look how impressive the Eye of Erin looks here. Let's just rejig that imagery. It wasn't running properly. Here we go. This is obviously GOES 19 rapid scan, looking right up close and personal into the eye of Hurricane Erin. And so impressive, throwing up some more decent cloud tops and really got that appearance about it. Don't forget how small this storm actually is, though. The sort of like the donut shape around it, that convection spans about 128 kilometers, which is about 75 miles. Not very wide as far as hurricanes go. The eye itself is approximately 9 miles wide. So on the smaller side, it's not tiny, but it's a bit petite by hurricane standards as well. As for the eye temperature, just getting a latest read on the eye temperature now. As of 4 minutes ago, the eye temperature is now 18 degrees Celsius. So that hasn't changed. It's gone down ever so slightly. But I think the convection, in contrast, has filled out a little bit more as well. Maury, your thoughts?
So this storm seems like it is still continuing to intensify. I noticed that the models are still behind. Like, I wonder.
Oh, well behind. No chance of getting anything out of them models right now.
Yeah, I just wonder if like the models will eventually, like, if the models are right about this sustaining its intensity for a long time. Like, it could potentially sustain Category 4 status up until probably when it's at the same latitude as the Florida Keys. I mean,
further.
I think, yeah, further on the models. That's just what the NHC cone says. So we'll really have to see how long this manages to sustain itself, and also realize that the second peak as an extratropical storm will probably be as a very strong storm. So it probably will make its transition to an extratropical storm at a very high intensity, likely because there's still going to be warm sea surface temperatures and not a lot of shear in that area where it probably reaches south of Nova Scotia.
Once again, there's the latest cone from the National Hurricane Center, and they're expecting major hurricane status to continue for a while before weakening down to a Category 2 by day 5, which it may do, but if it keeps going like this, it may stay stronger for longer there. We're just about to finish up for the time being. I'm trying to figure out when we will next be live. We may have a live update, won't be branded as a bulletin, but probably an update again at around 8 or 9 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time tonight. Don't quote me on that just yet, but it sounds like that's what we're going to be doing. In the meantime, we've got the automated stream running all the time. Now let's take a look at what happened on this day in the world of tropics. Well, it was August 16th, 1987, where we had quite a few systems active there. We had Tropical Storm Arlene in the Atlantic. Don't forget, we did an animation on that season recently. We also have Hurricane Hova, which was on its way to Category 3 status in the Eastern Pacific, an underrated storm. Typhoon Betty was a Category 1 about to make landfall in Vietnam after its Category 5 peak a few days earlier in the Philippines. And Typhoon Kerry was about to make landfall in Luzon as well as a Category 1, although it looks much better on that image. It was limbering up for a stronger landfall. I believe it got to Category 2. Back to today, we are code yellow for Erin right now, so it's not the most dangerous storm for land areas, otherwise it would be red. The next name in the Atlantic is Fernand. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Juliet, and in the Central Pacific, it's Lala. In the West Pacific, the next name is Ling Ling, and in the North Indian Ocean, it will be Shakti. We've got our automated stream running right now. It will automatically redirect you there in just a sec, where we've got live imagery and information on Erin in real time. In the Australian region, next name is Fina. In the Southwest Indian Ocean, Blossom, and in the South Pacific, Ermil. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.